Hello, everyone. Welcome along to another episode of Championship Drill. This will be, I think, the fifth episode, the fifth show we've done this season. Talk a little bit about transfers in a minute on deadline day. Well, some of the bigger ones anyway. We're not going to go through every transfer that happened on deadline day involving the championship teams, but a few of the big ones anyway. Then we'll have a little talk about one or two of the clubs and a bit of the news that's going on, and then we'll have a look back on the weekend action as we are now at the international break. And as always, I'm joined here with Phil. The international break, I suppose, one we always talk about, it's going to be good for some teams, bad for others.
Yeah. Same again here. There's a couple of teams that definitely need it. 100%. Like there's Middlesbrough, your team. We'll talk about them in a minute, but like you are tipping up to go up. They look really bad. The break.
They do. I suppose while we're on them, we might as well talk about them before the transfers.
Yeah.
Like, is it too simple to say Chubak Bomb is gone? They can't score goals. Like, there's more than that happening. Obviously,
there's more than that. I think. I don't know. It's difficult because they were so good last season. It's hard to know. Because like they didn't really disrupt the whole team that much. Like it's pretty much the same spine.
Yeah, but they're not taking the chances they get.
Yeah, they were. Yeah, that's the main thing. I suppose signing 5 goalkeepers doesn't help either.
No, it doesn't. And I think yesterday they had enough chances to win that game. They end up losing the game.
Yeah,
it's worrying, I suppose. Too soon to get rid of the manager, though. I mean, they saw how good he was last season with them. Very experienced. I mean, obviously they can't let it go on forever.
I don't know.
But
I think if you come to the next international break in October and it's similar, I think he'll go.
Yeah.
I think it's 6. Is it 5 or 6 weeks after they come back?
Something like that. So he's got to get about 4 wins in the next 5-6 games, you'd say, anyway.
100%.
But he's got to get the next win anyway, because they badly need a win.
Yeah.
And who knows, maybe they'll go on a run if that happens.
You never know.
Suppose we'll have to wait and see in that one. Leeds, we suspected, would be busy on deadline day, and they were.
Yeah.
In both players coming in and players going out, they lost Sinestra, obviously, went to Bournemouth.
Yeah, that loss, he was great last weekend.
Yeah, I mean, it was very, very good. He's going to be a big loss for them, obviously.
Yeah.
But they brought in a couple of midfielders, essentially, is what they're after doing for the most part, anyway. As far as I can remember, that's what Leeds did on deadline day. They brought in Anthony, came the other way from Bournemouth.
Yeah.
2 Leeds, Jaden Anthony, who obviously can play out on the wing. What other business did Leeds do? I know they signed a couple of midfielders.
They signed the guy from Rangers, Kamara.
Glenn Kamara. I think he's a Finnish international. I think he plays with Finland.
Yeah.
Good player. And they signed a German lad as well, as far as I know. Also came in.
But there was also a funny story with Leeds. I think it was Leeds.
Yeah.
Where a guy showed up to the training ground, looked at it, decided this wasn't for me, and left.
So not a good look for Leeds there.
He walked around the town as well, and he's like, "This is not for me," and then left.
Yeah, which is a pity because I like Leeds. Leeds is a really nice city.
Yeah.
You know, but
again, maybe he thought Leeds were a Premier League team, and when he got there, it was like they're
maybe. I don't know. It could have been. I think Kamara is going to be a good signing for them.
Yeah.
It's again, some of the teams you're looking at players that kind of came in, and there wasn't a lot of big names moving.
Jed Spence.
Yeah.
He's decent in the championship. He's good.
Liam Miller came into the runaway leaders, Preston. I think Canadian international. And James Furlong, if you're talking about Irish guys, has gone on to Hull City from Brighton. And is it Gannon that left Everton?
Yeah.
Another potential Irish player. I know he can play for Ireland or England. And he's gone as well to where did Gannon end up going? Was it Sheffield Wednesday?
I think so, yeah.
I mean,
Happy Wednesday. They got the Irish lad from Newcastle, Jeff Hendrick.
Hendrick came in. That's right. Yeah,
He's gone to
yeah.
But
Yeah,
yeah, Jamal Lowe, Bournemouth back to Swansea.
yeah. You were telling me the other day about your man Bayadele leaving Norwich and going to Nottingham Forest.
Yeah.
Danny Back coming in, bit of experience coming from Sunderland to Norwich.
Yeah.
Oliver
Burke is back in the Midlands. Oliver Burke is
back. Ollie Burke. It's good to see Ollie Burke back playing. You kind of miss him when you don't see him every week. Yeah, it wasn't as busy a transfer deadline as I thought it would be.
Yeah,
I've got to say.
They don't have money. They don't. A lot of teams just don't have money.
Yeah, I mean it's kind of a strange one. Cardiff obviously released Jack Simpson, which was 26 years old. He might end up being picked up, I'm sure, by someone eventually.
Andy Carroll.
Sam Greenwood leaving Leeds, going to Middlesbrough. Good pickup for Middlesbrough, maybe something they need.
Yeah. Hopefully now we'll kick them off. They need something. They just need something to, if they could just get that one win, I think they might take off.
That's it. And another signing that's an interesting one is Jed Spence. Obviously brilliant when he was on loan at when he was on loan at Nottingham Forest from Middlesbrough. Yeah. Then obviously was sold to Tottenham. Not really done anything for Tottenham, and has now gone to Leeds as well.
Yeah, it's a good signing.
He'll be a good signing for them, hopefully. Other Irish kind of signings, Andy Moran has gone to Blackburn as well. We talked about that the last day because he came on last time. That's about it, really. I can't see too many other transfers that are kind of worthwhile talking about yet, anyway. I know Panzo is another one that's gone to Cardiff from Nottingham Forest. Is another decent centre back, highly rated. But we'll wait and see what materializes with him and a few of the others. Nothing else stand out for you, really?
Ross Stewart to Sunderland to Southampton. 9 million euros.
Yeah. And on the Ollie Burke one going to Birmingham. I mean, Birmingham obviously have had a decent start to the season. That one kind of came out of nowhere.
Yeah, it's weird because I suppose we should be used to him moving because he moves in every single transfer.
He's moved an awful lot, to be fair.
And he's only 26.
Yeah. When did he go to? He went to Werder Bremen a good while ago and has basically been on loan in the Championship ever since.
Yeah.
Millwall obviously last season, and this season now gone on loan to Birmingham.
Yeah.
It's a strange one for him that he had to move from Sheffield United to Germany and then has basically just been on loan in the Championship.
He spent 2 years at Millwall on loan.
Yeah, so it's been really interesting to see how he's another one of these players, 26 now.
Yeah.
About time he started stepping forward and doing things, so we'll wait and see how things go. So that's about it. I suppose we should break into the weekend fixtures. Not a lot of news, I don't think, that I can see anyway.
Nothing major anyway, broken.
Yeah. It was actually Cannon went to Leicester City rather, not Sheffield Wednesday. Okay. Like you said, it was Jeff Hendrick that went to Sheffield Wednesday. Pick up for them, but Cannon, very highly rated striker. Leicester spent a bit of money on him.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see how he gets on with Leicester. As we look to the different the results that came in over the weekend, most games obviously played out on a Saturday this weekend. In fact, I think everyone played Saturday, didn't they?
Yeah. That's because the League Cup was on midweek.
League Cup was on midweek, so we don't get a Friday game. We've had very few Sunday games this year as well, which is a bit unusual, but that's the way we go. One just accidentally popped up here for me, so we might as well talk about that one first. Is Birmingham City Millwall 1-1. Birmingham City off to a good start this season. Will they be a bit disappointed with this one?
Yeah, they missed the penalty as well. In this one.
Yeah, he doesn't usually miss them, does he?
No. And to be fair, it was a good save.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
It was one of those games, I suppose. You wouldn't say a draw was unfair either.
Yeah. Yeah.
I can't honestly say that one team deserved it over the other. Maybe Birmingham, because of the penalty miss, will feel they could have won it. But
They've
I
had a
think
lot.
on the overall play, draw was probably fair.
Yeah, Birmingham had
Um,
more chances, but yeah, to be fair, that would be fair to draw.
yeah, 11 points from 5 games. They're going to be happy with that.
Yeah. Again,
Birmingham, Millwall.
yeah,
Millwall 7 points from 5. Probably a little bit disappointed in that one.
I don't know if they are. I think
I mean, they're doing okay. I mean, they're not. I mean, obviously, they're 3 points off the playoffs, but that's got to be Millwall's aim this season after a few years of getting nearly there. I mean, they have to be going for the playoffs this season, really.
Yeah, you would hope so.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose Birmingham are going to be one of those classic teams that international break's probably not going to be the best thing for them.
Yeah, I don't know. It's hard to know, like, because I think Birmingham could actually surprise us.
Yeah, there was something about them a few years ago, wasn't it? Was it who was in charge of them? Was it when Kevin Phillips? Was Kevin Phillips in charge of them a few years back?
Kevin Phillips, no, Lee Boyer.
Lee Boyer, that's right. And there was something about them then. They kind of things went wrong and it kind of fell apart a little bit. But yeah, I don't know. They've kind of very much surprised me this season because I did not think they'd have a great year. I didn't think they'd be relegated or anything, but I certainly didn't see them having this kind of a start to the season.
Yeah. Yeah, and like if they did win that game yesterday, I don't think they could have been criticised too much, but like a draw, as you said, fair. But again, I said it last week, the buzz is there now with Brady, but will that last?
That's it. One of the results of the weekend, well, without a doubt, the result of the weekend was one when you texted to me first, or we were out filming actually, weren't we? And you were checking the scores and you told me Sunderland are 5-0 up on Southampton.
Yeah.
It was like, what?
Yeah.
Crazy game. And
yeah. Watching it back, the keeper didn't do keeper mistakes.
And he's been under pressure, like we said last week. Yeah. Russell Martin really said good things about him and everything, and you can say, but you look 10 shots on target, he left 5 of them in. He could probably do with going away and playing for Ireland. Yeah, he's always performed well for Ireland.
Yeah, 100%. Like, I think it's the third goal he should have saved. You shouldn't be eating in your near post like that at all.
Very hard though, isn't it, when you're 3-0 down half time? Like you're down a goal away from home within a minute.
Yeah.
And then inside 6-7 minutes you're 2-0 down, and then you concede another one at half time because kind of thinking, you get one goal back, you're back in it again. Because Southampton have had a good start to the season. There's no denying that. I think this was their first. Was this their first loss of the season?
I think so. Yeah, I think it is. Yeah.
So
they've had a draw or two.
Three wins and a draw, I think, before this one. So it's a strange one, but it's one of those. Southampton had a lot of the ball, as you'd expect. It's a better team, but we say about it all the time. You have to take your chances, and I mean their finishing was very poor, and they've got good players, like we said. I mean Adam Armstrong's a guy that just scores goals for fun in this division.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a good thing for Southampton now that they have international break coming up. The transfer window shut. They just got to get on with the players they have and do their best.
Yeah, just focus on it now, I suppose. Yeah, exactly.
I mean, two managers I kind of like. Russell Martin, I know you're a bit of a fan of him as well in this division. It was good, I suppose, for Southampton to bring him in, and Tony Mowbray, who's hard not to like. For Sunderland. Sunderland, got off to a bad start the season, slowly climbing that table.
Yeah. I did criticise them at the start for losing a few players, but
but they seem to be finding something again. Obviously, you're not gonna, 5-0 wins, and again, it's one of those where now the momentum they've picked up from that is gone because of the international break. But it's a hard one. Oftentimes these clubs now will, they might give the players a few days off. Obviously, some of them will have players on international duty. But I always think it's not a bad idea when you're at an international break and you have players around the club to play a couple of behind closed doors friendlies with, a League One side or even another championship team or something, and just keep the players sharp that way.
Yeah, exactly.
Kind of different for Premier League teams where like their whole squads tend to go to on international duty, and not quite the same the Championship. So it's important to keep the players sharp. What about Bristol City and the start that they've made? Because they had a good win again yesterday.
Yeah, especially to come from behind. They
Yeah,
were losing 1-0, and they came back, which they've only lost. To be fair, they've only lost one game this season.
yeah, it's 2 wins, 2 draws now for them of the first 5. A team again that was kind of rebuilt over the last few years, and they're starting to look good. Kind of a young team as well.
They've always been under their average age has always been early 20s.
Yeah, I mean they're looking good. I mean they really, really are. Good manager too, I think, in Nigel Pearson. Even though last season he was threatening to quit. Um,
He definitely
or he was
suits.
threatening to quit over refereeing decisions and things like that. Which
He might as well
you know,
retire. Yeah, yeah.
yeah. But thankfully he's still stuck with it. Yeah, it's one of those. Charlie Patino, like we were saying, Swansea haven't got off to a good start, but it's 3 assists for him in 3 games. Uh, he's doing well for them, but Swansea are not doing well. And
No.
how did this? I mean, neither Welsh side you'd say are doing well. Cardiff aren't exactly setting the league off fire either.
Oh,
But
but
you would
they're
have figured Swansea would be the
bottom.
better team
Yeah, they're
this
the bottom
season.
3 with two points.
Yeah, it's not great when Huddersfield are above you in the league. To be
But
fair,
they might come back now with the international break might help them.
yeah, I think Swansea might need it.
Yeah.
It was a great assist, I thought, by Patino. Like we talked about him and how highly rated he is at Arsenal.
Yeah.
So they've got that creative force, but they need to stop letting in silly goals.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, like
Michael Duff as manager, like 5 games in, he hasn't won yet.
I'd be very worried. It gave
Just on the history of the league, you'd be worried for him the way it usually goes.
Yeah, especially again, like as I said, if you come back in another 6 weeks out and he's still down the bottom
Yeah.
with the next
Yeah,
international.
I mean, 5 games without a win becomes 8 games without a win. You're gone, really, aren't you?
Exactly.
Which is tough, but that's what this division is like. Managers kind of go a lot in this division, and because they have to, because it's I mean, obviously you get promoted and it's all the money and wealth and whatever that the Premier League brings to you, but you get relegated, and we talk about the Championship being a tough division to get out of. League One is certainly not an easy division to get out of.
100%. Yeah.
And you don't want to be doing like Rotherham have done, where you're kind of yo-yoing up and down between the two of them either.
Yeah.
So we'll wait and see. But Swansea in a lot of trouble. But Bristol City going to be happy with their start to the season. I think again we're only 5 games in, but like you said, they've only lost 1, and I think they'd have taken that at the start of the season if you'd given it to them.
Yeah.
One of the games of the weekend, I think, was the 3-3 draw, the Coventry and Watford. Watford manager probably on the verge of the sack. Just because it's Watford and it's happened before.
1 win in 5.
Yeah. 1 win in 5. They'd lost 2 on the bounce, I think, coming into this.
Yeah.
They showed a lot of fighting spirit in this one, I thought, though. They were
Like that own goal.
down at one stage, and they were 3-1 up or 3-2 up, and it was very much a yo-yo kind of a game. Matty Godden missed the penalty, which is very unlike him, especially the start he's had to the season.
Yeah. Yeah, you would have think that he would have put that away. But what I found, the funniest thing I found about this match is the own goal. I thought that was comical.
It was one of the funniest own goals I've ever seen.
Yeah.
I honestly, to this day, don't know what he was doing. For people who haven't seen it, I'm sure you can find it online. He basically just turned around and kicked it into his own net.
Yeah, it's almost like
because the goal, he was trying to pass it back to the goalkeeper, but he passed it nowhere near the goalkeeper.
That was classic Frank Sinclair style.
It really was. He just turned around and kicked it into his own net. Obviously, it was a pass back to the goalkeeper, but the goalkeeper was nowhere near the pass, so it was a strange one. Yeah, Wesley House. It was a very strange one. Rajovic though looks a player for them, huh?
Yeah, he looks quality. He
His
scored
first
two.
his first start for Watford. If they can get him going and scoring goals, like this division, people who follow this division for years will know, and we talk about it all the time. Is goals are more important, probably, like they're important in every league. But if you have a guy that can score you 15, 20 goals in this division, you have a great chance of finishing certainly in the top half of the table, if not further up. It makes a real difference to have a goal scorer in this division.
Do you think Coventry be happy with where they are after 5 games?
Probably not.
Yeah.
I think having 6 points, and obviously 3 of them are draws.
Yeah.
Because recent history, if you think about Brentford and teams like that, the teams that have lost playoff finals tend to win the league the next season.
Yeah,
or tend to go up automatically.
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah, or else just come up in general.
Yeah, it just seems to be the way it happens. So I think they'll be a little disappointed for sure. I think they'll be a bit disappointed they drew this game.
Yes. Some of the goals in the defense are awful.
Yeah, I think they're going to be very upset with the goals they gave away. I think both teams are going to be very upset with the goals they gave away.
They really will.
I do think Watford have found a player there though, Rajovic, and I think he's gonna score a lot of goals for them this season. Will it be enough to save the manager's job? I don't know. It's very hard to say with Watford. It really is, because managers have been sacked at Watford for worse starts than this, and certainly they've been sacked with better starts than this.
Yeah.
5 points from 5 games. I'd be very worried if I was the Watford manager, Ishmael. He's a guy that kind of bounced around the league a little bit, but I'd be very worried if I was him, because this is Watford, and I think if he doesn't win the next game, he's gone.
Yeah, they don't get time.
They don't. They really don't. They should, but they don't.
Yeah.
Because we know he's a quality manager. We know what he did with Barnsley when he came in there and did a great job with Barnsley. It didn't quite work out for him at West Brom. But we know he's got the ability to do it.
Yeah.
But again, they just, like you said, they don't give you time.
Yeah.
Another great game was one of the surprise packages of the season, which is great to see, is Ipswich. Second in the table, 4 wins from 5. And another really good win. Fighting win, like after going what were they were 2-0 down?
Yeah, they were 2-0 down, but two of the Lapidor goals are kind of comical.
Yeah.
Especially the last one.
Yeah.
That's schoolboy. Like, you don't see that in the Sunday leagues. Some of the stuff they're defending in the but to be fair though, Lapidor, we talked about him a few times. He scores a lot of key goals.
Yeah. He does score a lot of key goals. And the other thing that was so good about this win is, like, Cardiff could have easily won this game. Like, obviously they were 2-0 up, but beyond being 2-0 up, they had some great chances.
Yeah, they had one. They should have been 4-0 up. They
really could have been.
Yeah,
and probably should have been, to be fair.
Yeah.
And I suppose Kieran McKenna, the Ipswich coach, was talking after the game there. We got some of his quotes and saying, look, they can't win every week, but they promised the fans they'd have a go and be brave and fight to the last minute. And I think it's great when teams get promoted and they stick to what they did last season, and they are having a go at teams. And you know what? 4 wins from 5 games is quite a start. When obviously when you come up, staying in the division has got to be priority.
Yeah.
It's not unheard of for a team to go back-to-back promotions.
Yeah.
Any chance for Ipswich?
I don't know. I would have said no, but I think they definitely could.
Yeah. Last season at home they lost 1 match.
Yeah, no, they
lost to Lincoln. They lost early in the season to Lincoln City at home. Yeah. So they're very good at home. No, championship obviously
them come up, to be honest.
Yeah, kind of a tougher division, obviously.
Yeah.
In the championship, but they've done so well. Like, dream start, really, isn't it? I mean, you can't ask for a better start than 4 wins out of 5 when you're a newly promoted team. And then Cardiff, like we said, it was always going to be a long season for Cardiff, but you can't go 2-0 up away from home and lose a match.
Exactly.
Like, I don't care if you're playing, for the local Sunday League side, or you're playing in the Champions League final. You can't go 2-0 up and lose the match. One of the most boring games of the weekend, the 0-0 draw, which actually wasn't that boring. Quite a few chances.
Leeds had a lot of chances they should have scored.
They really did. I mean, in terms of teams who've got to be like disappointed with their start, Sheffield Wednesday, that was their first point of the season.
Yeah.
Like, Leeds are going to be really disappointed they didn't win that one. And
You know,
Leeds are team.
it?
Leeds, like Coventry, 1 win, 3 draws.
They don't look like
and a
scoring
defeat.
at all. They don't look like scoring.
They really don't.
Right.
Yeah. I suppose Spence, Kamara, Spence, I don't think is going to be going on international duty. Kamara will. He'll be going away with Finland. But it's going to be one of those where it's, the international break's probably a good thing for Leeds. I think the transfer window being shut is a great thing for Leeds.
Yeah,
because they were losing players, like you said, who were playing well from the season, and then they're gone. And at least now he knows what he has to work with. And he is a good manager, and I think he's obviously got out of this division before with Norwich. And I think he'll get it right. I think Leeds will be fine. I think Leeds will absolutely be pushing for promotion.
Things will turn around once it gets going. I think so.
Absolutely. But I mean, you look at Southampton, or you don't want to get too far away from those kind of teams either. But they'll be bitterly disappointed yesterday. Sheffield Wednesday, somewhat of a local derby in some ways, I suppose, Leeds and Sheffield. But it's I think they're going to be disappointed, Sheffield Wednesday, with their start as well. But that's their only point. Things have, again, a team where maybe the international break's going to help them. Maybe it won't. One of the shocks of the weekend, I suppose, came as well at I was going to say at Filbert Street, but Leicester City haven't played at Filbert Street, and I don't know how long. Was the start for Hull City beating Leicester City.
Nice goal.
Nice goal, good finish. Wasn't the greatest strike he's ever probably hit in the end. Took a bit of a deflection, it has to be said, off Vestergaard to go in, but
doing well from the lap.
It did. But it's one of those where Hull City were one of the teams. Not that we said they would do really, really well.
It was hard to predict.
A team that we thought signed very well.
Yeah.
And given themselves a chance. And Aaron Conley obviously has started well this season. Another Irish player, obviously, that they have, Cyrus Christie, who I think is extremely underrated as the player. He can be very good as well. I don't know. It's a strange one, I think.
Yeah.
For Hull, I think they're going to be absolutely delighted with how they've done this season.
They were haunted. Leicester had loads of chances.
Leicester did have a load of chances. Iheanacho's particularly had one that he should have put away.
Yeah.
And the manager did say, Enzo Marquez had said after the game he doesn't know how many shots Leicester had, but I can tell him officially it was 21.
Yeah.
But only one of them hit the target.
Yeah.
That's not good enough.
No.
I mean, it really isn't. It's one of the reasons they went down last season is they weren't scoring goals and they were giving them away. But they've had an okay start to the season. Obviously, they're in third place. I mean, they lost the Hull, but I mean, they'd won their previous 4 games.
If you gave that up at the start of the season, they'd be delighted.
I think so. And again, I think Leicester have to be probably, as things stand, one of the favourites to go up automatically because, I mean, I'm not saying Ipswich and Preston can't keep it up for the season, but it does get more difficult on those teams when you start playing twice a week. Yeah. Whereas Leicester with the bigger squad and Southampton with the bigger squad, that kind of thing, it can help a lot. But speaking of teams that are really struggling, we talked about Middlesbrough already, but on the flip side of Middlesbrough was QPR. Great win. And again, you can't help it. Like,
On the
Yeah.
men, I thought that they'd have a disaster of a season.
Yeah, I mean they've got 2 wins out of 5 to start the season. I
Yeah.
mean they're certainly not, out of the woods as far as the relegation battle is concerned, but it's 2 wins and 3, I think, isn't it, since they started the season pretty badly.
Yeah, they
Uh,
started so badly at the start, and now they've come back. Um,
yeah,
Good results. Michael Carrick.
yeah, and I
Michael,
think
what's that?
didn't Ainsworth say a few weeks ago when they got that first win that he's seen something different in them, and they've been a lot better since.
Yeah,
Now, again, yesterday we talk about you have to take your chances to win this league. QPR took their chances, Middlesbrough didn't, and my God, Middlesbrough had some chances.
yeah.
Uh, I mean, Begovic was playing in goal for QPR, and I'm not that Begovic is a bad player. He's absolutely not a bad player, but he's certainly not a young player either.
Yeah.
Um, you know, so it's going very well. But yeah, Carrick said he's encouraged despite the disappointment.
Yeah, he said he's going to
Uh,
reboot the side over the international break. I don't know. I don't know what that means. Reboot the
yeah, probably punch a few players.
side. It's just because he can't buy players that he can't. I don't
Well,
know.
when you think last season, like how did they go on the massive run they went on to almost get promoted?
Yeah,
They had 2 players up front in Akpom and Archer that were playing really, really well from. Akpom, as we know, went to Ajax. Archer went back to Villa before going out on loan again.
yeah,
Um, I mean, those are 2 big players to lose, and
yeah.
they've not really replaced them.
No. Yeah, it's very hard. I think I can't see them getting anywhere near the playoffs.
No, I mean I think the first things first is they need to steady the ship, get a few wins, get away from the relegation zone,
Yeah, yeah,
because you don't want to be down there, because in this division, if you're in the relegation zone after 10, 11 games, you're probably going to be stuck fighting down there for a lot of the season.
yeah,
It is hard to put a run of wins together in this division. It really can be. So you really got to early doors try and climb away. And it's, the other good thing about this division is if you do go on a run, I mean, they could win, 4 of the next 5 and be up in like 8th or 9th place, pushing for the playoffs again. The league turns around very quickly here, and you can climb the league quickly because, everyone does beat everyone at one point or another in the season. So not doom and gloom for Middlesbrough, but I mean, you're hitting the 9 shots on target and you're not scoring a goal. Something isn't great.
yeah, exactly.
Um, Another team that have done really well and a team that have been kind of disappointing is Plymouth. Have done pretty well. Pretty disappointed with Blackburn this season, though.
Well,
They're not 11
Blackburn,
points.
Blackburn won 8-0 at the midweek.
Yeah,
With 8 different goal scorers as well.
yeah. It's kind of crazy, isn't it, that you could win 8-0 the weekend and then you lose 3-0 to Plymouth at the weekend.
And the defending and the goals were comical again. The last goal is really, really bad.
Yeah, I mean, it really was. Um, yeah, I don't know what to say about Blackburn. They've got to be disappointed.
Yeah, like you don't know what you're getting. Like again, like with the 8-0, you're getting that one week, and the next week you're getting
Yeah,
hammered by Plymouth.
yeah. I mean, Tomlinson, Blackburn manager, was talking about how on 75 minutes, even though they were going down, he was wondering how the hell are we not winning this match?
Yeah,
5 minutes later they're 3-0 down, and but it's yeah. I mean, they had their chances. They really, really did have their chances.
I agree. I think again,
Uh,
Blackburn, where Blackburn coming out? They're 13th.
13th after that, I think 7 points.
Very poor.
Again, same. It's not a good return for a team that you would have thought would have done better. They'd have been one of the favourites. They'd have been one of the favourites to go up this season, certainly to push for a playoff place.
Yeah.
So it's a disappointment for them. But what about Plymouth? I mean,
I
talk about
agree.
Ipswich up in second, Plymouth in 10th. I mean, not too bad for the teams that just came up, is it?
Oh, it's very good.
Other than Sheffield Wednesday,
Can they
obviously.
can they hold it now going into the next international break? That'll be
Absolutely, it's going to be tough. And going back, I suppose Sheffield Wednesday, even though I know we talked about them a few games ago with the Leeds result, losing their manager must have had a much bigger effect on them than you would think as well.
massive. because like the way they came up and the way they won that playoff.
Yeah, I mean, what were they 4-0 down from the first leg
They were, yeah,
in the
yeah,
semi-final? I mean, it's mental. It's crazy to think about that.
yeah.
Really, really is. But yeah, good win for them. Rotherham, Norwich.
Uh,
Um,
Shocker.
massive win for Norwich. It was kind of a weekend of scorelines you didn't see coming,
Yeah,
or a massive result for Rotherham. Really bad result for Norwich. Norwich again have been going so well. 3 wins and a draw coming into this one.
yeah.
And go and lose to Rotherham, who I believe was it Rotherham's first win of the season. I think it was.
I think it was, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so it's one of those.
Now they have one draw and a win now after 5.
Yeah, yeah. So yesterday was their first win. Um, good win for Rotherham. I suppose any win's a good win, but
And
against Norwich especially, is going to be
the first goal was outstanding.
very good strike, wasn't it?
Very good.
And you look at it and you think to yourself, Norwich played better in the second half, but not great in the second half.
Yeah. They just looked like they were spent force. They looked tired.
They did. And Rotherham need to win games at home. They need to be much better at home this season if they're going to stay up, because Rotherham are a team that are going to struggle.
Yeah, they win every year because they don't have the money and they don't have the players.
Yeah, and I mean, they are your typical yo-yo side, like you said. They've been down to League One a few times and back up again.
Yeah.
But if they could stay up this season, that would be what, 2 seasons? Two seasons they'd be up then, and
yeah. They'd be going to their third.
And then
yeah,
you can kind of build from there then and keep going. But yeah, I suppose they're going to be very happy with that. They had 3 shots on target. They scored 2 goals and they won the match. Can't say better than that, really. Norwich disappointed, but I think Norwich will take 10 points from 5 games to start the season.
Yeah.
Surprise Preston.
Well,
top of the league.
Will Keane has set in on fire here. Well, there's a song about that, Will Keane on fire, but yeah, Will Keane, he's really.
We did talk about Will Keane. Obviously, he's been called up to the Irish team now again. But we talked about Will Keane when we knew he was going to Preston. Another guy, never really lived up to potential.
Yeah.
And really, really, really has hit the ground running. A little bit like Akpom last season. Akpom never had a season where he scored loads of goals.
Yeah, exactly.
And suddenly it took off. And, Keane, goes away now with Ireland. I mean, if he gets on in any of the Ireland games, I mean, jeez, what 2 games Ireland have coming up, France and the Netherlands. But if he can come on and get a goal in one of those, I mean, be amazing. Although, that said, it's going to be hard to take Evan Ferguson out of that Irish team at the minute, I would imagine.
Exactly. Oh, impossibly hard. But yeah. But again, he was with Wigan for a few years. It kind of was here and there. He'd won good.
That was it. I mean, good player, but not brilliant. I mean, when he was first at United, I mean, they were talking about him being, one of the next big things, and it just never happened for him. And Akpom was similar at Arsenal, because he looked like he had all the skills to go far, and one good season in the Championship, he ends up at Ajax. And who's to say Will Keane can't have a great season for Preston and end up, getting a big move at the end of the year?
He's still only 29. He's been around. He seems like he's been around for years.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's why I say similar to Akpom. I think Akpom's 26 or 27.
Yeah, he is. Yeah.
And Gyökeres, another one who's, obviously got a big move. Another guy that was like 25, 26, and only just suddenly started finding form. But it's it's big start for Preston, and their biggest issue has been someone scoring goals for them the last few seasons. 4 wins and a draw to start the season, top of the league going into the international break. Have to be happy with that.
Oh, if you're a Preston fan, you must think you're in dreamland.
Yeah, because I mean, Preston have been the team of win 1, lose 2, win 3, draw 4. It's they've been that kind of a team for the last few seasons, where just as they start to push for a playoff place, they lose a couple of games, and just as it seems like they're out of the playoff race, they'll win a few games.
Yeah.
Can they keep it up?
Who knows? They very well could. They really, really could.
I mean, you have to look. I suppose they have to look at someone like Luton, who last season similar kind of position start of the year. You're thinking, can Luton keep it up for the season?
I'd love if they did.
And obviously they did keep it up for the season. But the flip side of that is you look at a QPR who were kind of running away with the league early days last season, and then went on a horrific run after the World Cup, where I don't think they won for 3.5 months.
Yeah, just looking up there now, like Preston are playing Plymouth when they come back.
Yeah,
Plymouth are kind of on form, so that could be a tasty one.
tricky one. And those are the kind of games that if you want to go up, you have to win.
Yeah.
Stoke, though, not an easy place to go. Stoke have been very good at home recently.
2 wins
So
and losses.
Yeah, so to go away to Stoke and get a win is not an easy place to go and win. Stoke going to be disappointed with they got off to a great start early doors, first game of the season, and it's been kind of poor since. But what can you do? But if Preston can score goals, they're going to be dangerous this year, aren't they? Because they don't let in many.
Oh, they used to draw 0-0 all games after turn them into 1-0s.
Yeah, and we saw how Norwich did that to get them promoted a few years ago.
Yeah.
And a lot of 1-0 wins for Norwich in that season, or 2-1 wins.
Yeah.
Like if Preston starts scoring a lot of goals, they are going to be hard to stop.
Yeah, I agree.
What about West Brom? Another result that you probably didn't see coming.
Huddersfield
getting their first win of the season, and West Brom had been going steady enough.
Yeah, they were back on track after a poor start.
And now like to lose to,
they have 2 wins and 5. I don't think it's good enough for like that team of that size.
Yeah, I mean, Lee Nichols in goal for Huddersfield made a great save just before they scored the first goal.
Yeah.
That save probably like turns the game. A little bit. West Brom come back into it. Like when West Brom equalise, you probably think they're going to go on and win this now, especially at home.
Yeah.
And how poor Huddersfield have been.
Yeah.
As much as we love Neil Warnock, they haven't been great, Huddersfield. And he's not working with a lot, but yeah, I mean,
and the keeper's mistake anyway for the winner.
absolutely.
I think it was terrible keeping.
Yeah. They come back to a local derby, big game at the bottom against Rotherham. That's going to be a big match when they come back from the winter break. It's great to see Neil Warnock getting victories, obviously, but West Brom are going to be very, very disappointed. And I know your dad is probably not happy with that.
Well, he was given he had a few words, all right, that they were very poor. But to be fair, though, Huddersfield did give it a go, and they were much better than they were last week when they got hammered. They got hammered by Norwich last weekend.
Yeah, how do you think West Brom will do? Because they're one of these teams that are now middle of the table. They're one of these teams on 7 points.
You know what? I know I would say they're playoffs, but they just don't have the forwards.
Yeah, I mean, they seem better than last season. I certainly think they'll do better than last season.
Yeah. I think they're
but yeah, like that. They don't have that goal scorer. And when you don't have that goal scorer and you start leaving in silly goals,
you're going to get a lot of these freak results, as they call them. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you can't concede silly goals. Like we said, you can't concede stupid goals in the Championship. And expect to do well. And there's too many teams did that yesterday, which is why you get these surprising results.
Exactly.
Happening. So that'll be about it until the international break is over. Always interesting to see what teams do first game back after the international break. So we'll be back for that one. But what are your thoughts first 5 games of the season?
It's very surprising where a lot of teams are.
Yeah. I mean, if we look at the top 6, Preston, Ipswich, Leicester, Birmingham, Norwich, Hull, I don't think anyone expects that to be the top 6 at the end of the season. But pretty surprising, given where they are. Boro have been disappointing, obviously. I don't think we thought Boro would be bottom of the table. Sunderland, like you said, have come good.
You did jinx.
Yeah, I did jinx them.
Yeah.
Absolutely, I jinxed Middlesbrough, and I have to take full responsibility for that one. But it's great. I think seeing Ipswich do well, Plymouth do well, Hull do well, Birmingham do well. It's been great. And Preston, obviously, very, very good to see them top of the table, and not just because their captain is a guy that originally lives around the corner from you, Phil.
Yeah, yeah.
Not just for that reason, but it is good to see Preston doing well.
To be
and I
fair,
think everything could happen.
Alan Brown should be playing in the Premier League, realistically.
He should be, and hopefully he will be with Preston next season.
Yeah.
Hopefully. So international break up ahead. Hate when we have the international breaks, but there you go.
But it disrupts the teams like Preston there now. Like it's just when they come back there, we'll run through. Is there a Friday night game when they come back?
2 Friday night games, I think, when they come back.
Yeah, there is. There's a cracker on Southampton and Leicester.
Southampton, Leicester, which will probably be a TV game. Hull Coventry is going to be a good one too, I suppose. So if we run through them quickly, Blackburn, Middlesbrough, Bristol City, West Brom, Huddersfield, Rotherham, like we talked about, local derby, big one at the bottom. Norwich against Stoke, that's a big game for both teams, you would say. Preston, Plymouth, like you talked about, that's, Preston need to win that one if they're going to win the...
They want to stay in the playoffs and get a good season, yes. Yeah.
Big game for QPR, home to Sunderland. Sunderland come better. Sheffield Wednesday against Ipswich. Sheffield Wednesday have to win eventually, I suppose.
A huge game.
Watford Birmingham is kind of a big game in terms of the guy being sacked, I imagine. And then the Welsh Derby, Cardiff Swansea, is going to be on TV, I imagine, that evening.
Why is that on so late when there's trouble at these games? Do you know?
Yeah, I know. It's a good idea, right? Isn't it? Let them drink for the whole day and then go to the match rather than have a 12 o'clock kickoff.
Yeah, exactly.
It's kind of mad, right? And the great news when we come back from the international break, Millwall play Leeds on the Sunday. But it's going to be our first lot of midweek fixtures in the league as well when we come back. So the games are going to start coming thick and fast after the international break. There's going to be a lot of them, and we're looking forward to it. So thanks, everyone, for listening, and we will be back with you in a few weeks' time once this international nonsense is out of the way.